In the garage this morning, my lens shelf has standing water. And it has been raining, so first thing I did is look at the ceiling thinking, oh man, I've got a brand new roof on the house. How could we possibly have a leak? Cameras are dry. Bottom shelf is a little wet, and then the slab here is all wet, but standing water. So then I looked over here at the water softener thinking maybe this line started dripping. That's all dry, but the hose line had popped out. So I installed this 4 years ago. I guess it took 4 years of water pressure when this thing backwashes. It runs at like 10 or 11 at night every day. It must have, slowly just worked its way out over 4 years. So I'm going to put a zip tie on there to keep that in there.
So working on a little controller for the teleprompter. It's a rotary encoder connected to a Raspberry Pi Pico.
So it's moving the cursor up arrow, and show me the other script where you get the rotary bit working. So it's picking up directions, and it's just outputting numbers for now, but the goal is to make that the arrow key, up and down. Have a seat in the back. I want to see what this shot looks like. Curious if it's a reasonable distance to shoot an interview. That looks about right. Standard frame. Oh, I gotta gain up display. Let's just put you in high ISO. I gotta map that to a user key. Can you flip the lights on back there? There we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. Like talking head size. Got some downtime during the holiday break, and this has come up a few times. I've had requests to shoot interviews in my van where the location just doesn't have a conducive location or it's inconvenient. And we just want to pull up maybe someone's residence and we don't want to disrupt their family and their house, so they just come out to the van and we do an interview with no setup delay for the talent. So I'm curious if my van can be reworked to accommodate such a situation. I've got the air conditioner running right now. It's in eco mode, but the fan is on high. I don't think the compressor is an issue. Obviously the blower's really loud. This is with the DJI mic going into my iPhone. And then I've also got the Burano running with the Sanken Cause 11D. That's fan on 4 bars. A little bit quieter, testing the 2 mics, DJI mic, Sanken Cause 11. The camera is at 28 millimeter. And that's on Super 35 scan, not full frame. The partition door is out of the shots. I think the countertop, I gotta pull the easy up to see if the countertop's totally clear. But if I were to do this for real, I would definitely remove the tool chest, remove the bunk, pull out the curtains so I have some room to set up different photo backdrops or maybe a TV back there, like a LCD as a background. I don't know, it's to be determined based on the assignment. All right, here's a test with the, let me get it focused on my chest, shotgun mic. This is the Rode NTG, the one that takes a battery, the longer version. I have an Audio Technica that's shorter than this. I got the side door open and holiday folks out there. All right. Position this as I would on an interview. Right about there, focused on my chest. Octava MK012, I forget the model number. Had a sound engineer, like recording studio, music engineer, good friend of mine, who's also a location sound mixer now, Daniel Powell. Hey Daniel, I don't know if you watch my vlogs back in Los Angeles, but I miss you, buddy. We were like side by side for many years. Every production I was on, he was out there with me. And then we also did post-production together at a production company. Good times. Okay, cardioid mic overhead. How's my levels? Levels are pretty good. Additional noisemakers. I got the engine running. I got the truck's AC running with the blower on high. And the unit behind me overhead is running on low mode, lowest fan setting. Check 1, 2, and again, this is the overhead boom mic, cardioid, Octava, MK012. Let's switch back to the Sanken lavalier. lavalier mic, Sanken COS 11D, COS 11D. What is the proper way pronunciation for that model number? After so many years of shooting on the Alexa and Amira platforms, the already designed viewfinder bracketry is the best I've ever worked with. I'm slowly getting there on the Burano. So the bright tangerine diopter extension was a nice change out. I do wish this viewfinder was a little bit sharper, but it's workable. I'm okay to shoot with it, but I've got this current problem where this Sony NATO to EVF attachment has got this chatter in there. It's growing each time I use the camera. Like something's getting more and more loose in there, and I can't figure out how to service it. And also with the thing tightened to maximum drag, the IP still drops a little bit because that bright tangerine tube is just, the fulcrum of it being further out causes it to drop. So I purchased the bright tangerine adjustment, which looks very similar to the bracket I had on my Amiras. My hope is this is the final bracket I'll need to purchase to make the viewfinder bracket and behave similar to what I had on the Amira. Thinking about year-end review, and I've got 1 or 2 videos I'm going to publish in the coming weeks with some data similar to the last couple of years. But I realized today that I've never talked about net worth and tracking net worth as a freelancer or running a small business in media, in video. So about 3 years into being a first-time homeowner, I started tracking our household and business net worth, kind of everything all combined. So I've got data now going all the way back over 20 years, which is pretty cool. I wish I had started doing this when I was a broke college student with a negative net worth and my first several years working. It didn't even occur to me back then. I didn't know enough, but I think I would have been more motivated to get out of debt if I was updating a spreadsheet, not every month, but maybe quarterly, just to see my position and kind of watch that red number in the negative improve. If I'd had this additional metric to track, because I got my student loan payments, I think I had a car payment. That was the extent of my debt as a college student and first couple years out of school. But other than getting the statements in the mail, I wasn't actively tracking like a bottom line of where I was at. So these numbers I plugged in here, this is a spreadsheet, my actual spreadsheet, but I thinned it down and these aren't my real numbers. They're just, so don't get too much into the weeds on actual numerical amounts. It's more obviously the concept. So top level net worth is all your assets minus any liabilities. So top level is just assets. And if you've seen in some of my other videos, I stopped saving for retirement and started investing in rental properties when I was 34 years old. I'll be 47 next week. Primary residence. So this is not the equity, but the actual estimated market value. I was very haphazard about this over the years. I didn't consistently check my net worth monthly or quarterly. I've got just sort of scattered data throughout each year. But last couple years, I've been good about at the start of each new fiscal quarter, I log it. So I have 4 data points per year, and we'll do so going forward. Primary residence, market value, a couple rental houses. I sold one of my rentals, and I did seller financing. The buyer put a big down payment. And then investing in other real estate vehicles. I'm in a syndication. It's an apartment complex. I'm just a limited partner, which means I just have an equity position. I have no other responsibility or control over how it performs. And I don't update or change that amount, but I've been in it for several years. I vlogged about, I had one fail this summer, about 6 months ago, and I lost $50K after being in for several years. I've got my work van as well as our 2 personal vehicles in here. I just kind of look at not blue book value, but what I think I could realistically get, private party sale, personal checking and savings balances, brokerage account, so stock market investments. Again, these aren't real numbers. Got a college savings account for my son. It's called a 529 here in the US. 2 IRA accounts, one for me, one for my spouse. Same with the Roth. I only put money in the Roth when we were younger, like in our 20s. When I started making more money, and I lived in California, first or second highest taxed income tax state in the United States. I was always looking for ways to reduce my current year taxable income, and it was also an incentive to save more. So I had 401ks for many years, and then maybe 6 years ago, I closed out the 401ks and rolled them over to IRAs. Actually, no, it would have been 11 years ago when I stopped actively contributing to retirement accounts and instead channeling all of that investment income into real estate. But these accounts continue to perform. Last couple of years have been positive. I think in 2002 I was negative at year end, but my previous negative year, I think I got to go all the way back to like 2009 or maybe 2011. Business checking and savings account balances, business accounts receivable, so open invoices, slow pay corporates. I've got one steady client that like gets way behind and then gets caught up, and we've worked together for years. It's just kind of part of the flow. I've got a business partner I loaned some money to that they're paying off. It's accruing with interest, so an example note in there for that on the business side. And then I take all of my equipment, and as a general rule of thumb, like when I bought the Burano, I added it to the equipment resale value asset list, but I start with 50% value. So $25,000 camera. When I plugged it into my spreadsheet, I just valued it at 12.5 on my balance sheet. And then as things depreciate further, I update it. The big ticket items, 2 FX9s, FX3 Burano, some of the newer lenses, some of the newer lighting. And then I've got a credit card for the video business. I have another credit card for rental properties, for purchasing items and repair items, and if I got to pay a plumber over the phone or whatever. I got a home equity line of credit on my primary residence, so it's kind of like a credit card loan. It's a second mortgage. If you're not familiar, you can Google that. Business payables, I basically pay everybody immediately. I don't have a lot of business expenses other than the reoccurring insurance, Amazon and B&H purchases on the credit card. And then I got a personal credit card that's for like groceries, household items. And then mortgages, so primary residence, rental property, and let's just say in this scenario, there's 3 properties and one of them's free and clear, which is why I only see 2 loans. So then you got your total assets minus all the liabilities for a net worth of theoretical 1.6. And then I use numbers that reflect the changes over the last 4 quarters of my actual net worth. Stock market's been great. The real estate market's been declining a little bit here in Texas. So again, like similar percentages, not actual numbers. So yeah, you can see I'm down for the year on the real estate side, but the stock side is up quite a bit more. And so that worked out to, year end, I'm in the black this year. 2022 was a negative year, but all other recent years, each year I've been up. I've added a few additional data points that are useful for me just managing the business and personal finances, liquid and cash amounts. So cash is cash, what I've got in business and personal bank accounts total. And then liquid is things that I can get to cash in about 5 business days. So this case, it would include the bank accounts plus the brokerage account, which is a after-tax account. So none of the retirement account stuff, because that's all heavy penalty plus taxes to get it to cash until obviously I get to retirement age. And then always curious to see what my ratio is of real estate equity to stock market position. So over the years, things have kind of tracked in parallel. It's always like right around 50-50, 45-55. Going back to the liquid position, this is a useful tool for me. Like if a potential real estate property comes up for sale that I might be interested in buying, it's always a situation where I need to know how much liquidity I have available, because the good rental deals, generally you have to pay cash for them. The seller's not going to wait around for financing. Although right now, times are kind of tough for sellers. And in the investment side, a lot of sellers are willing to seller finance, which is what I did to get rid of a property. And if you see the real estate numbers here in Texas, it is such low cost living here on a real estate side compared to basically the rest of the developed world. When we were in California, it stayed in my home in California. Today, that house is about $1.1 million, $1.2 million. And there's nothing, nice place, but nothing special about it. A track home from the 1960s, little 2-bedroom, 1,100 square feet for, $1.1 million, $1.2 million. Where here in Texas, this house I'm in was one of our rentals. When I bought this place in 2015, we never intended to live here, but the current market value on this place is around $350,000, and I went from 1,100 square feet to 2,200 square feet, from a 2-bed to a 4-bed. All right, we'll wrap this up now. Let's continue this discussion in the comments below. Are you guys tracking your net worth if you're freelancers? And for those of you that are watching my vlog and working full-time kind of traditional employment, how do you do it differently, or is it similar, or was this all kind of a new concept to you? Be curious to chat some more in the comments below. Thanks for watching.